G'day everyone, my name is David Mine. Welcome back to First Time Reefer TV. And today we are at Nature Aquariums checking out this incredible 6-foot Cade display tank in their gallery. Stick around. G'day everyone, my name is David Mine. Welcome back to First Time Reefer TV, and today we are at my local fish store, which is Nature Aquariums here in Mont Albert with the owner Stephen Mildern. We are going to check out this incredible 6-foot display that they've got in their gallery, or their living art gallery, is that what you call it? Yes, indeed. Fantastic. So I'm going to hand over this mic to Steve, and I'm going to jump out of camera and let Steve tell you all about how they run this tank, what the tank is, and all the information that you guys want to know about it. So Steve, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you very much.
Just make sure that this is mic'd up properly. There we go.
Hi guys, this is the Cade PR Series 2 1800. We've had this in store maybe 6 months. We gave it a good clean out down the bottom. It's first time Friday. So it's a good time to take some video because the sump's nice and clean. Yep. So we'll talk you through some of the features. It says it's Cade PR Series 2, which is a current model. Yep. This was the first one to land in Australia.
Beautiful.
So we've had it going, I think it's about 6 months. We've got some good coralline algae growth there, little splotches everywhere on the back wall.
Some decent coralline growing for 6 months.
Lots. The trick is to seed it, so you get a trusted source of the coralline algae. Scrape it off. So we scrape some off with an algae scraper off our tanks downstairs, and then kept the flow on, and little particles of it get in everywhere on everything, which is how you seed it from a trusted tank. So I'm quite happy with that. Using the Marco rock, and the Marco rock's white. This is the Marco shelf rock. Comes in white. And when you first put it in, it's like bang, it's white. But as you can see now, it's beautifully covered. It looks very, very natural. We ran out of rock actually. We sold it all, so we've got quite a bit more structure to come to this tank. I'd call this stage 1. There's a lot more coral to go in here. Everyone looks at that and laughs because it's full. But no, some more shelving pieces we'll put in here with some shade underneath, but right at the front. So some really lovely shading rock there. We can put acorns and things in full view at the front, things like that. We kind of aim to do in this tank as a mixed reef. We're sort of showing people some great ideas on placement and how you might incorporate an entire level of 40 metres of reef in 60 centimetres. And we did it with shading.
You've got some coral growing underneath the shelf.
Quite a bit.
Darkness. So we'll run
near darkness.
A little bit about that later. Let's go from the top down.
Yeah.
So the Cade tank is the 1800 Pro Reef Series 2.
It is.
What lighting are you running up the top there?
The Yellow Magic Blaze. This is a single 1800 or 6-foot unit. Much nicer to have a nice.
That's the largest one they make,
that I've ever seen. We can do custom stuff, but pretty sure that's the largest I've seen. I like running it as a single piece. Really neat. No cables through the middle and that sort of thing to distract you. These acrylic mounts are really nice. You only notice them when I put them out. Yeah. You can hang them from the ceiling and so on too, but it's very, very easy with these mounts. So this is programmable. It's as good as any other light of the premium lights on the market with the programmability. And running some Vitaminis as well. Get a still shot later from top, but what we're running here is Vitaminis at the front, a bank of 2+2. And we're doing that rather than 1 or 2 at the front, 2 at the back. We're running 2 at the front so that obviously the coral's going to grow a little bit towards the light, and that gives it a better reflection on the eye. And you want the coral growing out this way towards us, not back that way. So that's why we're running 2 on the front. So that's there's a nice little neat way of doing that.
They're the actinic strips, so that's just supplemental blue lighting to try to get that even dispersion of colour.
And it is quite even and quite powerful in their own right. It really makes a big difference. Really happy with those. Store trades from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. So what we do is these come on about 8 o'clock in the morning, and they ramp up reasonably quickly, about over half an hour. And we run, I think it's 2.5 or 3 hours, I can't remember, 2.5 or 3 hours of whites, full, everything on. And that's a nice breakfast for them of light. We run that every morning, and then we run full blues with 20% white during the day. So there's a lot of other white light in this room. There's lots of other displays, there's lighting in the ceiling. So there's actually quite a bit of other white light. Not as much as you might get out of this, but there's quite a bit around. So we run full blues during the day. That's for the visual effect, but also, as I say, there's a lot of other white light, so it doesn't really need it. At home, that's a good way to do it too. I like to run a tank at home with the blues in the evening, so get a beautiful dappled light on the ceiling and so on, and softer light in the evening. And then I run the whites during the day. But you can always, very easily on this, with a push of a button, you can turn all the lights on. You can turn it on to full when it's on its program, and it will stay on that full for an hour, so that's quite nice to do as well. So if whatever program it's on, you press the button, and bang, you get all your whites on. So if you want to view your acro in full white and that sort of thing, we'll just have an extra bit of white on, or just turn it on when it's off, and it's not on its cycle. It's a nice easy thing to do as well. So, but they've been on it since day one, and can't complain at all. Great growth out of all the acro and the LPS as well. So there's a bunch of the Sitchis on the back. There's 6 of those across the back. Your Sitchi Extreme, they're about, I think it's 8,500 litres per hour each. So they're not the most powerful pump, but they're spread all the way across the back, so you're getting that flow this way. And they're reasonably hidden. You don't really notice them until you point them out, because they're covered in coralline and so on as well. What I like about them is the ability to move them around like this. So, if you've got some coral placement and so on, you can move it away so it's getting some deflected flow and that sort of thing. You can really play with those angles. There's a little Nero in the back there as well. They're a great little pump, great bang for your buck. Really good pump output, more output than the Sitchi, a little bit more, costs a little bit more, but the Sitchi, their advantage over the Sitchi is they've got that output and a slimmer form factor, but the Sitchi you can move around. I really like that about the Sitchi, so that's why I've chosen it here, so that I can direct that flow without having to move the pumps around and get in the back there and all sorts of things. Now the magnet, for those, is on the inside of the ATO, so the big ATO at the back there that holds over a week's worth of RO water, the other side of the magnet sits in there, which is really handy. So they're flowing this way, so they're getting this effect in the tank. The return's here, and then down back to the sump there. So you've got double weir on the Cade, so you've got the top and bottom, so you're getting all the detritus off the bottom plus the surface skim. So the water's going this way and this way, so you get this effect. Yep. And then it gets sucked in. Then there's 2 reef waves. So there's 2 of the larger reef waves on here, 1 on each side. Now they're synchronised as well. So what you're doing is, when this one's on 10%, this one's on 100%. So then the centre of the wave is here, and they're also on the long pulse. So the centre of the wave's here, and then it gradually moves over the course of a couple of hours to here, and then back and forth. So there's intense clashing of all the waves, if you like, here, and it goes through our day, so nothing's getting blasted all day, but it also goes across the top, which is where we place the acro. So that's why they're at the top. And the other ones, you can angle down, for example, onto your gonnies here, and from 40 centimetres away, it's quite a soft flow for the Sitchis. You can't do that with some of the others. That's why I like that arm. You can't hear a thing. You can't hear anything. Yeah, you can't hear a thing.
Not that that's how I normally stare at my tank, which I head to the side, but giants can traditionally be a little bit noisy. I'm
very happy with these reef waves. They can't hear them, and they go 50, 100, 50, 100, so they're pumping out a lot of water. Yep. People talk about how much wave should I have on it and so on. So we've gone here, if all these pumps are on maximum, it'd be close to 100 times the tank volume, so it'd be close to 100,000 litres an hour. Yep. When you add everything up. So that's what we run on here. And I think that's really important. For SPS, I'd want to be running at 50 at least. And because they're on a wave motion, they're not always running at 100. So it goes probably between 50 and 100%. 50 and 100 times per hour, I should say. The rock's Marco Rock Shelf. Now, future plans for this tank that we ran out of rock is to have a structure in here and some more structure on top here for some more SPS and some of the acro that likes lots and lots of light. And so we're going to build a structure through here so we can have some nice shaded areas here, so you can have your A-cans and your really lovely morphs and things on show right at the front. So they're getting a little bit of light from the side, but not all that direct light here. That's the Marco shelf rock. We've got another 2 pallets coming. We've sold out the first couple. It's fantastic stuff, but I really like the ability to build these shelves. I've built this entirely out of the shelf. There's a few other options. There's a cheaper base rock, and then one with the cut-off as well, so it's really easy to mount on. What I did here was I took small pieces of the shelf and then larger pieces on top and used Stonefixe, Aquaforest Stonefixe, to cement them together. So you get this stability. So I can poke all the way out here and almost look dangerous without falling out, because it's definitely cemented in place. So
it may not
loving
look
that
it,
rock.
but definitely sound.
It's not going to fall over.
About $50,000 worth of coral on it.
Yeah, let's not have that. Let's not annoy this beautiful dashies down there. So that's what we do. We use the Aquaforest and then just layers and some pieces, and it's good fun. It takes you most of a day to build something like this. And it'll probably take most of a day just to build that extra structure there. I think
it looks fantastic.
There's a lot more to come. A lot more coral.
It's a very unique style escape, which is something different, which is good.
I really like the shelf look, and I like the ability to have these. For example, there's a big shelf here, and we've been able to place the hammers under there and get this hammer wall, which is really beautiful. You can have the shelves coming out, jutting out here, and then right at the front you can display your scollies and blastos and other things that don't like too much light. I like to be able to see those corals that don't like as much light without having to tuck them around the back there where I can't see them. I want to be able to see them up front, but I want to be able to grow my SPS too. So this is a way of having both, having your cake and banana eater, as I say. So we use the same water here that we sell and the same water we use downstairs, which is the Aquaforest. We use the Aquaforest salt in our mixing zone. We make RO. We don't use Port Phillip Bay water. That's horrible. Never touch it. So we use RO, and we make the Aquaforest salt here on site, and we mix it up and we sell that, and we use it in our tanks here, and we use it in here as well. Having said that, never had a water change. So we only used it once. But that's the water we use. In terms of the additives, what we're using is the Seachem system. So you can come down and get a shot in a minute, or if you like, or whatever, but the Fusion 1, Fusion 2 from Seachem, and the Reef Plus from Seachem. They're on a doser. So you can see that there, Fusion 2, 1, 2. Yep. So that's the calcium there in the Fusion 1 is a product, it's got, you measure and dose the calcium, and it has proportionate measures of magnesium, strontium, and so on. Because they're consumed in the scientists there at Seachem worked out what the proportionate usage was, and that's what they calculate that at. So we test the calcium in here once a week, and we adjust the doser if necessary. Running at about 50 mils a day at the moment, and we've hardly got any coral in here. So, that stuff is fabulous for that. And we test, when we've tested the magnesium, which and strontium and others, which we don't do very often, to be honest, but when we have tested it, it's been perfect level. So they've got that matching right. The Fusion 2, the Fusion is carbon hardness, just pure carbon hardness. So they're on separate dosing pumps. Yeah. The Reef Plus is Seachem's premium product with all their trace in it and lots of other bits. We still feed Coral Essentials in here, the black label, all three. We use those downstairs as well. But this is the basis of what we do. These Fusion 1, Fusion 2 and the Reef Plus. They're fabulous, they're fabulous products. Yes. Yep.
What levels do you run your alkalinity, calcium, magnesium at?
About 8 for carbon hardness. Calcium's about 440. Sometimes a tiny bit more, but don't want to go too much more than that. I think that's about right. Yep. And the Reef Plus we add at the same rate as well, the same proportion. Yep. So whatever we're running.
1400, I assume?
About 1450.
Okay.
Something like that. Stability, those numbers are important. What's more important is stability, and if you're going to change those numbers, to change them very, very slowly. But look, that's the heart of it. We're stoked with the performance on this product. It's been running that product from day one, and it's important to use it at the start, not just add it later and wait for depletion and then your levels are up and down. So we're running that from day one, and totally happy with it.
It's super concentrated compared. Right?
Yes,
very, very concentrated. I mean, you're saying you're only dosing 50 mil.
Comparative products, you tend to use more. Some are about the same, some you have to use more. But to achieve that level, that's pretty good. It's a big system.
6 foot big or 6 foot long, to be stacked full of coral and then it goes in 50 minutes. It's pretty impressive.
And it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's not expensive stuff. We sell these obviously, but look, they're highly concentrated, yes, but also they're not expensive. And when you're looking at a product, if you're looking at economy, then you look at what the dose rate is and how much you're using, not just how much it is per litre to buy. You've got to look at the concentration, you're quite right. But look, been running from day one with that, and then the Coral Essentials additives as well, the black label. Yep. Very happy with the results. The growth's incredible.
Keep it simple.
Great encrusting. It is a really simple system. Downstairs we use a calcium reactor, which we're really happy with as well on the mega system. You could use a calcium reactor here as well, but I find this a much better system for hobbyists because it's so much simpler. It's cheaper, and you can make those small adjustments. You can adjust one and not the other, of course, which sometimes you need to do. Interestingly, the consumption on both of them is I think it's like 2 mils different. So they've really calculated it nicely so that you're using the same amount of product to keep it simple. In some tanks you'll have some slight variation, but we're testing once a week and then if necessary adjusting. But it tends to be every couple of weeks we find it's just gone down a little bit. It might have gone down to 420 in calcium, so we just added a couple of mils a day type of thing and just creeping that up.
And as you add more coral, obviously. As
we add more coral, that'll continue to happen. So that's a nice, simple way to do it. Yeah. Do it right.
And what foods do you feed?
A bit of everything.
Yeah. I mean, you own a store, so I'm assuming... We try
a bit of everything. Yeah. Frozen food goes in here every day, and a mix of things. I'm a big fan of some things like the fish eggs and lobster eggs and things, because they're a really good source of protein for the fish. Mysis and so on. Mysis and those other foods are great too. If the animal, the mysis, shrimp itself, is not full of goodness itself, it's just like eating celery. So you've got to get the good stuff there, such as the one added with spirulina and so on. That's a good idea. Okay. So we feed those sort of products. The Aquaforest soft foods we're really liking quite a lot. So they get a good go in here, including the clips and so on. We took the clip off this morning, but you can still see the circle. So putting a little clip on there with the Aquaforest foods is probably the favourite for these guys, and they go nuts when it goes in. And tiny bits break off, and you're feeding your coral as well. So those little round ones, I'll grab one for you. Yep. So these guys here.
So those feed the tank.
On your clip on the inside, it sits there for a couple of hours. Little bits, feed your coral, feed your fish.
And the fish go nuts for it?
Oh, they go proper nuts. They just pick all day until it's gone, and end up all fat.
You mentioned before you don't do water changes. So my next question is relatively obsolete. What is the maintenance routine?
The glass gets cleaned when you get dirty. Look sideways to see the glass. Yeah, hasn't been cleaned this morning. Hey boys, what's going on? I can see it hasn't been cleaned. I can see by looking this way too, but you caught us too early in the morning. But anyway, so we clean the glass every couple of days. You get a light film on it on the inside, and we use a flipper. Nothing else goes in this tank in a flipper, or one of these for the back. They're a great product if you need to get algae and so on off the back. But
keep your hands out of the tank too.
And keeps your hands out of the tank. You can reach right to the back. That lives here and it goes back here. Thanks very much. Otherwise it gets lost. There's a bit of algae cleaning in the morning. We check the skimmer every day, see if it needs emptying. We actually cleaned it this morning, so if you get some shots later, you can see we had a full clean. It's been emptied this morning, but had a full clean. The sump had a full clean on Thursday and Friday. Sure, let's have a look. So it had a total clean out. So it doesn't normally look this clean. It was, but there was a lot of coralline algae and so on in it. So that's some skimmer, I should say, about 20 minutes ago. Just before we did the video, got emptied. The cap was cleaned as well. So it doesn't normally look that clean, but frothing up beautifully. That's a lovely little pavlova there. That's the big great white. Loving the performance of that. Yep. Very happy. You can see some heaters there. They're redundant, but we put them in there. So they're if the chiller fails. So there's a Tico 2000 running on this, or it could be a 1000. A 1000, sorry. Yep. Tico 1000 running on this. But the heaters are there in case of a failure. So redundancy is really important. That's why they're there, but they may or may not be operating. We have a nice big Sitchi pump. I think it's the 9000, big one, in there, running the manifold and so on as well. So the great thing about the Pro Reef here is you've got the ability to run these manifolds here. So we're only using one at the moment. You could use a pellet reactor and so on the other. This one here runs into a carbon reactor. There's a bit of GFO in there as well, just to keep your phosphate right down, ensure that we don't have any traces. And then it runs out of the reactor, which is Aquafrost AF90, nice little reactor. Runs out of there into a UV. Put the biggest UV we could sort of squeeze in there. A nice slow trickle. I'll actually show you because I think it's important. The flow rate through that, here's where it dumps out, is that. So that's running through the UV and it's running through the reactor as well. So you're getting quite a, maybe, I don't know, 800, 1,000 litres an hour through there. And that way you're getting a lot of contact time in the UV, which is really important. And by the time it's run through that big chamber of carbon, then there's no trace of nasties left in there. So that's what we do there. And you can run that and alter the flow here really easily. There's another one inside the other chamber. You can't really see it. It's at the back running the chiller. And that one is here in the outlet. It just runs the chiller. That's it there. And there's a manifold and a tap in the other chamber where the chiller is, out of the damp area. You don't want the chiller in the damp area. And that just, the output runs across those heaters to keep the temperature right. Yep. So there's good flow in there. Yeah. So, it's great. Yeah, happy with that. Yeah. Happy with that. And in a very clean tank. So nitrate levels in here would be undetectable or near undetectable. We put some GFO in the reactor because we found the tiniest sunlight, 0.001 of phosphate, so we put the GFO in there. So first of all, you can adjust here. You can see here, got a nice even flow and nice and quiet, which is really important. This here is adjusting the flow. This is the main downpipe from the top, and you're adjusting that and tightening it or loosening it to let more or less flow through so that you're getting no bubbles. You get the bubbles, then you end up with a salt spray, and you end up with the salt stuff everywhere. There's a tiny bit here, but not much. But that's about as good as you're going to get it, and it's really quiet. 4 filter socks, very good. The big skimmer in this chamber, and what we've done here, because we moved a little bit around, allowed a monster chamber for the keto. That's some nice keto there. There's not enough, but we'll grow that out. We swapped these over. There's a little frag rack in there just to grow out some frags. This is a little trick. We sold this one here, but we're going to have a bunch of these. And this is going to be where we put the mangroves. So stay tuned for that one. There's a whole pile of mangroves across the front here in this soil. A little frag tray, but that'll come out soon, and we'll get some more keto going. So there'll be this monster keto chamber. Growing that much algae eliminates. You're just not going to get, it does, and you're not going to get any algae going up top, hardly any. The plants, of course, eat the nasties. Plants eat shit. And that's what algae's doing. We've got an Illumagic Blaze downstairs and upstairs. This is the freshwater version. And we run that in a nighttime schedule, so we get the balanced pH. So this comes on just before the lights go out up top, and then it stays on until just after 10 o'clock when we open. We've turned it on for the video. It'd normally be off at this time of day. What else have we got here? Media. Come on here. So these media chambers. So the media chambers make it really easy to clean. So you pull this out, you take it out, you give it a clean, and you plunk it back in. Really, really easy. So water's flowing over here and then downwards, and then up through this chamber here and back in. And if the media gets clogged, it's got an overflow, so that's really handy. We put there's just one snail in each chamber just to keep the algae under control. And here he just wanders around. I don't know how he's going to get back over there. You'll work it out. And you've got the dosing tubes there that from last week. We haven't really tidied those up. That's a bit naughty. They should be tidied up and over the back. So don't do that. Yep. That's it. Keeping it simple.